this is a view to show you how the most of the geomaterials which are man-made looks like. We have been talking about blast furnace slag, we have been talking about the silica fumes and so on in the previous lecture. And one obvious question is, if you want to understand how to use a material for a specific project, you have to look into its microscopic structure. So, we were quite excited to see that silica fumes look like this. Remember, some time back I said that these are very light material, the specific gravity would be 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. So, transportation is a big issue, I think we discussed in the class. Why this happens? Because if you look at the surface of these particles, these are very furry structures, they have protrusions on the surface, and these protrusions or the furs, they create these materials very light and airborne. So, one of the major issues associated with silica fumes is that this material becomes airborne and people inhale it, and because of high activity of silica, if it goes in your lungs, what it will do? It will suck all the water from the lungs, it will produce dead cells in the lungs, it could be lung cirrhosis. So, these are very hazardous materials. So, industrialization versus health of the people and the environmental chaos, if you are trying to understand, these type of things become useful. We were dealing with the blast furnace slag also in a big way, because in some of my student theses, we have been talking about blast furnace slag as a man-made resource, and rather than mining for calcium from the mines, I wanted to use the calcium which is present in the blast furnace slag. So, we were thinking of a process by which the calcium oxide can be extracted from the slags. Clear? Now, this is a very philosophical word. I mean, I might not be able to take out calcium oxide, but what I can do is I can break calcium in an ionic form, and I can remove cations, that is calcium ions, from this system and induce them into the marine clays. On this concept, Ganraj has a patent where we have used a new material for stabilizing the marine clays. And if you follow his thesis, you will realize he has published a paper also on this, I think. These are the materials which are non-chemical stabilizers, because nowadays you can't insert a chemical inside the ground, that itself is hazardous. So, in the long run, these chemicals would react with the groundwater and they will get transported from one place to another place. So, these type of themes are coming in ground modification, soil augmentation, soil rejuvenation, and remember my dream project, this man-made soils. So, I wanted to create man-made soils. I do not want to use natural soils because these resources are quite limited now. So, how to convert all these industrial byproducts and the waste material into a resource is a challenge which we are trying to address and work on. So, the blast furnace slag normally looks very angular. Remember, this comes out of the steel making process, and then once you grind it, pulverize it, it becomes GGBFS, that is a ground granulated blast furnace slag, which is cement and very active cement, and you can create PPC out of it by substituting 30-40% of this material in OPC. Now, I will discuss about the morphological characterization of geomaterials. Morphological characterization is basically shape, size, dimensions, regularity, irregularity. So, normally morphological characterization is done by using two techniques. One is two-dimensional technique and another one is three-dimensional technique. And you will be surprised to know that we have shown that shear wave velocities and the liquefaction potential of the sands and the shear strength depends upon the morphological features. So, these are the thoughts which take the subject ahead of what exists. So, the standard sands which you are using and which you are teaching to undergraduates by saying that these are standard spherical materials, you never question that how spherical they are. We question this and to our surprise we realized that these standard sands which you use as a spherical materials are truly like this. So, none of them is a perfect sphere. These are as flaky as possible. So, these are the two dimensional sections. You take the particle and cut it, and then you take the images you know, micrographically. The material looks like this. So, SS1 is the coarse sand, SS3 is the fine sand, and these are the cenospheres which have peculiar characteristics. In 3D, if you do the imaging, these are known as optical micrographs. This is how the sands and the glass bead looks like. What we have done from this information is we went too much into the morphological characterization of the materials. Each grain has to be photographed. So, what you are seeing over here is this is one of the grains of the sand on which you are working, and then we inscribe as many circles as possible. It is a game of patience. You have to sit down and analyze each of the image which you take, and then one circle you have to which subscribes the particle, and once these dimensions are known, you can define the sphericity, roundness and regularity of the particle. So, this is the best way to characterize the morphology of the materials at microscopic level. All right. So, I mean, I will not go into the details of all these things. If you are interested, please read the papers which are written by Anjan Patel and Prasad Bhartake. We have used this concept also to define the crushability of the sands, crushability of the particles or the crushing strength of the particles, what they call it as. Crushing strength has a lot of application in different industries right now. I mean, you should appreciate one fact that industry understands that we are the experts in the minerals and soils. So, they approach you having full faith that you are the only one who can solve their problems. So, where these type of issues become useful in rheology. Yes.
If during site investigation the data is very erratic, so can we use like for a certain type of area the morphology of the sands, we can say it more or less will be same. So can we use this morphological characterization to predict the behavior of my like given area engineering behavior?
It depends upon whether you are having a outlook of macroscopic models or microscopic model. Yeah, so this is an interesting question, that how particles of random sizes and shapes would create a matrix through which, let us say, which can be compacted, through which the percolation of water may take place, or through which the shear wave velocities will travel, heat will travel, contaminants will travel, and so on, bacteria will travel. So, these are the questions which you have to really sit down and plan. The crushability.
I just have to focus on engineering behavior, macroscopic mechanical, like can for a given area from morphology point of view can be predict.
Yeah,
Like
so
if
the
ground
answer
investigation
is
doesn't
simple.
lead
If the sphericity is very close to unity 1, you know that these soils are going to liquefy very easily, because you cannot compact them. So, everything gets related to the RD value, relative density, E max, E min, alright. And not only to that, even your friction angles, internal friction angles are also a function of the true friction angle plus dilation angle, plus minus, depends upon how you are defining this, what do you call it as, interest, how you are defining that. True friction angle would depend upon the dilation angle and the real friction angle, asperities, sorry, angle of asperities. So, angle of asperities have to get added up to the friction angle, or it has to be subtracted depending upon how the shearing process is taking place. These are the micro detailing of the materials which conventional geomechanics also talks about. This is what R&D is, where you go too much into the details of the material and try to see this. Yeah, but these are very simple ideas, but later on we realize that they have a lot of application in industry. I might have done several projects from the companies which make glues, adhesives, toothpaste, different types of pumps which are packed in the tubes, because ultimately it's all rheology, is it not? Different types of what else, putties which you use for sealing the cracks of the in the concrete, and so on. It becomes very interesting.
Whether this morphology data can be used for already existing structures.
Structures of,
I mean, for if they are prone to liquefaction. Or
yeah,
something.
there are several papers if you check it on net, where now people are realizing how shear wave velocities would depend upon the three parameters: sphericity, roundness, and regularity. So, truly speaking, these three parameters are defining the morphology of the material, quantified form. So, Vs is a function of S, R, and epsilon. So, Rd is a function of all these. See, there is a shift in the concepts which you have been studying in the basic soil mechanics. Now, I am sure that somebody must be working or must have worked on Rd as a function of all these parameters, not only Emax, Emin, because Emax, Emin would have been a gross injustice with the material. I hope you can realize. So, when you redefine the systems, another interesting thing is those who are designing chips for IC circuits. So, where you are packing the silica particles. So, what civil engineers do it at macro level compaction. Here the compaction is going on at nano level, and they are also spherules, spherical particles. So, how do you compact the spherical particles at that level, and what type of distortions and defects can come in the system is a very big subject, where electronics guys have to sit with us to learn the theory of compaction, theory of packing, theory of packing of the nanoparticles. Because see, we are experts, we have learned maximum, how the particles can be packed, how they can be compacted. Yes.
If they are round, like the void ratio can't be less than 0.33435. So is there some way alteration, like if it's not perfectly round, that you can take below it?
Yeah, I mean, like, once you understood the concepts, how are you going to give a solution is your prerogative.
Agglomerate the ash particles.
If
we agglomerate the ash particles into this, or if we do some iteration with some ash particle of fly ash, the morphology of that can be improved.
Of course. So, she was asking the same thing. If you put concepts together, I can create a different morphology. I can create a system which is easily flowable by converting them into perfect spheres. If rheology is being done, if I want to convey particles from one place to another place. But if I want to stop this process, I have to train my bacteria in such a manner that the surfaces become irregular and better interlocked. Shear strength increases. So, no wonder in another 5-6 years people are going to give you orders for this. You create a system like this for me, and that is what the application of geotechnical engineering would be. Everything would be tailor made. One case, one solution. I don't know whether you guys have realized this or not. There is a new concept in the market. Liquefaction is being tackled by purging gas bubbles. They create a specific size of bubbles in the soils which are liquefiable. So, what these bubbles are going to do? They act as a springs between the grains of the sands. So, when earthquake comes, as if you have introduced some sort of a shock absorbers, and hence the particles don't liquefy. So, there is a lot of papers which are being published in these concepts. So, liquefaction mitigation by purging gas bubbles.
That there are some buildings which is already established, but we'll get to know that after some time that substructures or the soil under that building will be problematic after some time. So can we inject or some mineralogy or some we are in the position that will
Why not? I mean, there will be several answers. The first answer would be I will alter the state of the material. The link which I have sent you a few days back on the collapse of the Calcutta tunnel, if you read that carefully, you will realize that the blame is on the contractor who did not pump in the nitrogen gas. So, what nitrogen gas is doing? When you go to surgeons, what do? They give you local anesthesia or general anesthesia. So, this is how we have to give anesthesia in the form of the gases, which will maintain the pore air pressures in the system. So, these are the therapies which have to be done to the soils. So, now you can use this concept, you can come out with your own startup where you can treat the subsurface soils for a better longevity, more durability. That is very interesting. The question is that people are talking about durability of concrete, which is superstructure, but nobody bothers about the durability of the soils. The soil might become vulnerable for building to collapse. Are you getting this point? So, nobody has bothered about geotechnical engineering concepts. They all are making M75, 110, what not. But nobody bothered that this material is exposed to the environment, and let us augment there also, otherwise what could happen? You know, it's very convincing. So, that forces you to think in this direction, how to alter the properties of soils the way you want. So, that question which you have asked, actually I can deal with this problem in several ways. I will alter the minerals, number one. I would like to cut off the entire area where the foundations, in fact I am doing one project right now of this type. It is a mega structure which is sitting on a hillock, and I have established that the hillock is sick. It has a lot of wounds through which the water is seeping. For me it is blood, and now I have to treat the system so that I can plug these voids, cavities which have got formed in the foundation system. When you ask this question, I wanted to give you an analysis of how it has been done. So, for me, I have isolated the whole foundations of the building and I am safeguarding them. Imagine as if nothing exists in between the foundations. It has been eaten up. It could have been eaten up by bacteria, it could have been eaten up by seepage water, erosion. How can you stop? City like Bombay, it rains, imagine. So, all the water is percolating through the foundation system.